In the quiet village of Umuokirika, Zara, a curious and intelligent young woman, lived with her father, Okechukwu, and her stepmother, Ifeoma. Zara had always felt that something was not right with Ifeoma, even though everything seemed peaceful on the surface. Ifeoma was the perfect woman in the eyes of the villagers, kind, gentle, and always smiling. But Zara noticed small, unsettling things that made her feel uneasy. When her father, Okechukwu, was present, Ifeoma played the part of a loving wife, always caring and attentive. However, when he was away, Zara couldn't help but sense a darker side to her stepmother's nature. Okechukwu, blinded by love and trust for Ifeoma, couldn't see this. He believed she was the perfect wife, always praising her for keeping their home in order. Zara, however, tried to speak to him about her suspicions, but he dismissed her concerns, saying she was simply being difficult. He told her to appreciate Ifeoma, as she had been good to him. Despite her father's assurances, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that Ifeoma was hiding something, a secret that no one in the village knew about. The house might have looked peaceful from the outside, but Zara could feel the tension hanging in the air. She didn't yet know what Ifeoma was hiding, but Zara was determined to find the truth. As days went by, Nneka started noticing strange things around the house. At night, when everyone was supposed to be asleep, she would hear odd noises coming from the attic, soft creaks and whispers that seemed out of place. Sometimes, she would catch Amara acting strangely. There were moments when Amara would stare out the window for long periods, her face hard and unreadable. At other times, she would mumble to herself in a low voice, as if talking to someone who wasn't there. Nneka couldn't understand it, and it made her uneasy. One day, while exploring the house, Nneka came across a few odd objects hidden in the attic. There were old, dusty boxes with strange symbols on them, and some things that looked like they didn't belong to anyone in the family. Nneka was puzzled and began to ask Amara about the things she had found, but her stepmother just gave her vague answers. She would say things like, "Oh, those are just old family items," or, "Don't worry about that, Nneka. It's nothing to be concerned about." But Nneka's questions only made Amara act more distant and uncomfortable. The more Nneka asked, the more Amara seemed to avoid talking about it. Her answers didn't make sense, and Nneka's suspicions grew stronger. She couldn't help but feel that Amara was hiding something important. The more she tried to find out, the more Amara seemed to pull away. This only made Nneka more determined to uncover the truth. One afternoon, a man arrived at the house. He was well dressed in fine clothes, something Zara had never seen before in their small village. The man seemed to be in a hurry, walking with purpose as he approached the house. He greeted Amara warmly, and the two of them went inside together. Zara, who had been nearby, couldn't help but watch them. The way they spoke to each other was strange. Amara was acting nervous, and the man spoke to her in low, hurried tones. Zara could only catch bits and pieces of their conversation, but it was enough to make her curious. The stranger seemed to know a lot about Amara, things Zara had never heard her mention. It was as if they had shared secrets, things only they understood. The man asked Amara questions about the house and their family, and Zara felt a chill run down her spine. Why would this man be so interested in them? And how did he know so much about Amara? Zara felt something was off, but she couldn't yet figure out what it was. As the conversation ended, the man left as quickly as he had arrived, and Amara shut the door behind him, looking around nervously before she returned to her usual calm. Zara stood still, her mind racing with questions. Who was that man, and why had he come to see Amara? The stranger's visit had raised even more questions in her mind, making her more determined to uncover the truth about what was going on in her home. Zara sat alone one evening, thinking about her mother. It had been many years since her mother passed away, but Zara could still remember the sadness that had filled their home. Her mother's death had always been a sensitive topic. No one in the village ever talked about it, and even Zara's father, Chijioke, would quickly change the subject whenever it came up. He always said it was a terrible accident, but Zara couldn't shake the feeling that something more had happened. The way her mother had suddenly fallen ill so quickly and without warning, never made sense to Zara. She had been healthy one day and gone the next. As she sat thinking, Zara began to wonder if there was a connection between her mother's death and the strange things she had been noticing about Amara. Could it be that her stepmother knew more than she was letting on? Zara remembered how Amara had always been so quiet and careful whenever the topic of her mother came up. She had never seen Amara look sad or emotional about it, as though she had no real connection to her mother at all. Zara's mind raced with questions. Had Amara been involved in her mother's death? Was her strange behavior now a sign of something darker? Zara couldn't stop wondering if Amara's actions were somehow connected to the mysterious death of her mother. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that the answers were hidden somewhere, and she was determined to find them. One afternoon, while exploring the house, Zara found something that made her heart race. She had always noticed a small, locked door in the attic, one that had been there for as long as she could remember. No one ever talked about it, and it had always been kept sealed. Zara had tried to open it before, but the door was locked, and she never had the key. That day, however, she was determined to find out what was behind it. While her father was resting and Amara was busy with her chores, Zara quietly searched the house for the key. After some time, she found it hidden in a drawer, tucked away among old papers. With trembling hands, Zara unlocked the door and carefully stepped inside. The room was dusty and filled with old furniture, some of which looked like it hadn't been touched in years. As she searched through the room, her eyes fell on a small wooden box sitting on a shelf. Inside the box, she found a faded photograph. Zara picked it up, her breath catching in her throat. The picture showed Amara standing next to a woman Zara didn't recognize. But the woman's face was strangely familiar. She looked a lot like Zara's late mother, the woman she had lost so many years ago. The woman in the photo had the same eyes, the same smile, and the same graceful presence. Zara stared at the photo for a long time, feeling a mix of confusion and fear. Why was there a picture of her mother with Amara in this hidden room? What was the connection between them? Zara's heart pounded as she realized that she had just found her first clue, one that could lead her to the truth about what had happened to her mother and what Amara was hiding. The next day, Zara could no longer keep the photograph to herself. She had to know the truth. With the photo in her hand, she went to find Amara. She found her in the kitchen, preparing food for the evening meal. Zara walked up to her, holding the picture out in front of her. "Amara, who is this woman in the photograph?" she asked, her voice steady but filled with urgency. Amara looked at the photo and her face immediately changed. For a moment, her usual calm demeanor slipped, and Zara could see a flicker of something, guilt, fear, or anger, pass over her stepmother's face. But Amara quickly regained control, forcing a smile. "That's none of your business, Neka," she said coldly. "You don't need to worry about things like this. Stay in your place and stop asking questions that don't concern you." Zara's heart sank at Amara's dismissive response. She had expected some kind of answer, but instead, Amara seemed angry that she even asked. The way Amara spoke to her, like she was a child, only made Zara more suspicious. It was clear that Amara was hiding something, and Zara could feel the truth slipping further away from her grasp. Amara's warning to stay in her place only made Zara more determined. Her stepmother's response felt like a cover-up, and Zara knew she couldn't let it go. There was something important hidden in that photograph, and she had to find out what it was. The confrontation had left Zara even more unsettled, but it also fueled her desire to dig deeper. She knew now that Amara wasn't just hiding the past. She was hiding something much darker, and Zara was determined to uncover it. Zara's determination to uncover the truth grew stronger after her confrontation with Amara. She couldn't stop thinking about the photograph and the way Amara had reacted. Zara knew that Amara was hiding something, and she needed to find more clues to piece the puzzle together. Over the next few days, Zara quietly searched through old family letters and documents she found hidden in the study. These papers were filled with old family stories, some written by her father, and others by people who had known her mother. Zara carefully read through them, looking for anything that might give her a clue about her mother's death and Amara's role in it. One afternoon, as she was reading through some old letters, Zara overheard a conversation between Amara and the mysterious man. They were talking in low voices, but Zara could hear bits of their discussion from the hallway. The man seemed to be warning Amara about something, mentioning a past that she had tried to forget. Zara caught pieces of their conversation like, "The plan must stay hidden, and we can't let anyone find out what really happened." These words made Zara's heart race, and she felt a chill run down her spine. What were they talking about? Zara kept listening, even though she knew she shouldn't. She learned that Amara was hiding the truth about her mother's death, and that the woman she thought of as her stepmother had been part of a terrible secret. From the letters and the conversation, Zara pieced together a disturbing revelation. Amara had been involved in a plot that led to her mother's betrayal, and she had played a part in her mother's murder. The more Zara uncovered, the clearer it became that Amara was also involved in stealing wealth that didn't belong to her. It was a dark past filled with lies, greed, and manipulation. Zara's mind was spinning. She couldn't believe what she had discovered. The woman who had been pretending to care for her was hiding a history of crime and betrayal. Zara felt a deep sense of anger and sadness, but she also knew that she couldn't stop now. The truth was out there, and she was determined to find it. Zara knew she couldn't stop now. With every new piece of information she uncovered, her curiosity grew stronger, and her need to know the truth became urgent. Amara had been hiding something for so long, and Zara was determined to find out what it was. One evening, when everyone else was asleep, Zara decided to sneak into Amara's private study. She had seen her stepmother enter the room many times, but it was always locked. This time, Zara had a plan. She waited until she knew Amara was busy in the kitchen, then quietly made her way to the study. The door was locked, but Zara had seen Amara hide the key in a small drawer in the living room. With her heart pounding, Zara retrieved the key and unlocked the door. The study was neat and organized, with bookshelves lined with old books and papers. Zara's eyes scanned the room, looking for anything that might help her uncover more about the mystery. After searching for a while, Zara's gaze landed on a small wooden box hidden in a drawer. She opened it carefully and found a journal inside. It looked old, with worn pages and a faded cover. Zara hesitated for a moment, but her desire to know the truth pushed her forward. She opened the journal and began to read. The pages were filled with handwritten notes and detailed entries, many of them written in a hurried and frantic way. As she read, Zara's heart began to race. The journal revealed a terrible truth. Amara had been part of a plot that involved Zara's mother. It was clear from the entries that Amara had played a key role in the scheme, one that had led to her mother's downfall. The journal described how Amara had secretly worked with others to betray Zara's mother, causing her to lose everything she had. It even described how Amara had helped orchestrate her mother's death to steal her wealth and power. Zara's hands shook as she closed the journal. She couldn't believe what she had just read. Amara's role in her mother's death was no longer a mystery. It was a dark and ugly truth. Zara felt a mixture of anger and heartbreak, but also a deep sense of determination. She couldn't let Amara get away with this. The truth was finally in her hands, and she knew that now, more than ever, she had to confront her stepmother. Zara could hardly believe the truth she had uncovered. As she went through the journal and all the documents she had found, a horrible picture started to form. It became clear that Amara, who Zara had always thought of as her stepmother, had once been very close to Zara's mother. They were friends, and Amara had even been trusted with many secrets. But that trust was broken when Amara betrayed her own friend for something more powerful: wealth and control. Zara learned that Amara had always wanted more than what she had. Her greed had driven her to manipulate people, and her relationship with Zara's mother had been no exception. The journal revealed that Amara had been jealous of her mother's success and beauty, and over time, that jealousy turned into a plan to take everything away from her. Amara had secretly worked with people who shared her greed, setting traps to slowly destroy Zara's mother's reputation and standing. But the most shocking part was how Amara had played a role in Zara's mother's death. It wasn't an accident, as Zara had always believed. It was part of Amara's plan. Amara had made sure her mother would be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and her death was no accident. It was arranged. Amara's ultimate goal was to take control of everything that belonged to Zara's father, including the land and the wealth. By orchestrating her mother's death, she thought she could have it all. Zara's heart shattered as the full extent of Amara's betrayal became clear. The woman who had been pretending to be a loving stepmother was responsible for destroying everything Zara's mother had worked for. Amara's plan had worked, and Zara's father never knew the truth about what had happened. For years, Amara had lived in the family home, enjoying the wealth and power she had stolen, while Zara had been left in the dark. Now that Zara knew the truth, she felt a burning anger inside her. Amara's betrayal had stolen so much from her, and Zara knew she couldn't let it go. She had to make sure that Amara's dark actions were exposed, no matter the cost. As Zara continued to dig deeper into the mystery, the truth became even more shocking. She had already discovered that Amara was involved in her mother's death, but now, as she pieced together more of the evidence, she realized that Amara had been manipulating everyone around her for years. Amara wasn't just a schemer. She was a master at hiding her dark secrets. Zara found out that Amara had used her charm and persuasive words to control her father, making him believe she was the perfect wife. He had no idea what Amara was truly capable of. Zara's investigation also uncovered something even darker. Amara had framed her late mother for crimes she never committed. Zara found old records and letters that showed how Amara had planted false evidence, making it look like Zara's mother had been involved in illegal activities. These lies had cast a shadow over Zara's family's reputation and legacy. Zara's mother had been an honest and hard-working woman, but Amara had twisted the truth so that everyone thought she was guilty of things she hadn't done. Zara felt a mixture of anger and disbelief. How could Amara have done this? How could she have gone so far to destroy her mother's good name and steal everything from Zara's family? The lies had poisoned the entire family, and Zara had been left in the dark for all these years. The weight of the truth was overwhelming. Now that Zara knew everything, she realized how deep the betrayal went. Amara had spent years hiding the truth, using her charm to keep her father and everyone else fooled. She had destroyed her mother's reputation, and all of this had been done to claim power and wealth. Zara could no longer ignore the evil that had taken over her family. She knew that exposing Amara's lies was the only way to restore her mother's honor and break free from the web of manipulation that had held them all captive. Zara's heart was heavy as she made her way to her father's study. She had found the truth, and now she had to confront him. She knew it wouldn't be easy. Her father had always trusted Amara, and he still believed she was the loving, caring woman he had married. But Zara couldn't keep the truth to herself any longer. She had to tell him everything. With a deep breath, Zara walked into the room and stood before her father. His eyes softened when he saw her, but Zara could see the confusion on his face as he noticed the serious look in her eyes. "Father," Zara began, her voice trembling, "I need to tell you something you need to know about Amara." Her father looked at her, his expression concerned. "What is it, my daughter?" he asked gently. Zara took a deep breath and began to tell him everything: the betrayal, the lies, and how Amara had been responsible for her mother's death. She told him about the journal she had found, the false accusations Amara had made against her mother, and how Amara had manipulated everyone around her, including him. Zara's voice shook as she spoke, but she pushed on, determined to make him see the truth. But as Zara finished telling her story, her father's face darkened. He stood up from his chair, his hands clenched into fists. "No," he said sharply. "I can't believe this. Amara has been nothing but good to me. She has always been there for this family. You must be mistaken." Zara felt her heart break as her father shook his head, refusing to believe the truth. "This is nothing but an attempt to ruin my marriage," he said, his voice rising. "Amara is innocent. I won't listen to this nonsense." Zara's eyes filled with tears as she tried to make him understand. "Father, please, don't you see? Amara has been lying to you for years. She's been using you to get what she wants. She killed Mother, and she framed her for things she never did. But her father only looked at her with anger and disbelief. "Enough!" he shouted. "I will not have you turning against your stepmother. You will regret this." Zara stood there, devastated. She had hoped her father would believe her, but instead, he had turned against her. It was clear to her now that he was too blinded by his love for Amara to see the truth. As she left his study, Zara realized that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't change his mind. She would have to face the truth on her own. Zara couldn't stop searching for the truth. Even though her father refused to believe her, she was determined to expose Ifeoma's dark past. She knew that Amara had lied about so much, and now it was time to find even more proof. Zara's investigation led her to a series of hidden documents, old letters, and secret conversations that painted a picture of a woman far different from the one Zara had known. As she went through the papers, Zara discovered that Ifeoma wasn't just responsible for her mother's death. Amara had been involved in many other crimes as well. One of the most shocking things Zara found was how Ifeoma had used bribery and blackmail to secure her place in the family. She had paid off important people in the village to keep her secrets safe and to make sure no one would question her actions. Zara was disgusted to learn that Amara had threatened people with harmful information to make them do what she wanted. She had been manipulating others for years to build her power and control. Zara also found out that Ifeoma had been involved in several shady business deals. She had used her charm and lies to make money in ways that hurt other people. Amara had stolen from the poor, bribed officials, and even used threats to get what she wanted. All these actions had helped her climb the social ladder, but they had also destroyed the lives of others in the process. Zara was horrified by the extent of Ifeoma's crimes. She realized that Amara's perfect image was nothing more than a mask to hide her true nature. With every new discovery, Zara felt more determined to expose Ifeoma for what she truly was. It was clear that Ifeoma had built her life on lies, manipulation, and cruelty. Zara knew that it was time to bring all the dark secrets to light, no matter the consequences. She couldn't let Ifeoma's evil actions go unpunished any longer. The truth had to be known. Zara was tired of hiding the truth. She had spent so much time gathering evidence, piecing together all the lies and crimes Ifeoma had committed over the years. Now, with everything in front of her, Zara knew it was time to take action. She had spent too long living in fear of Ifeoma, letting the woman control her life. But now, Zara was no longer afraid. She had the truth, and that truth was her power. Zara took one last look at the pile of documents, photos, and letters she had collected. Each piece of evidence was a key to unlocking the dark secrets Ifeoma had hidden for so long. She had found the bribery records, the blackmail letters, and even the conversations that revealed Ifeoma's role in her mother's death. Everything was ready. Zara's heart raced as she prepared to confront the woman who had tormented her for years. She felt a mix of anger and determination. No longer would she be the scared girl hiding in the shadows. Zara had spent too many nights sleepless, too many days wondering if anyone would ever believe her. But now, she had the proof. This was her moment to stand up for herself and her mother, to take back control of her life. Zara was ready to face Ifeoma one last time. She knew it wouldn't be easy, and Ifeoma would try to deny everything. But Zara was no longer the person who would quietly accept lies. She was going to make sure Ifeoma paid for all the pain she had caused. With all the evidence in her hands, Zara took a deep breath. She wasn't going to back down. Today was the day she would finally expose Ifeoma for who she truly was. The truth was her weapon, and she was going to use it to free herself from the woman who had controlled her life for too long. Zara took a deep breath as she walked into the living room, the evidence in her hands. Ifeoma was sitting there, looking as calm and collected as always, but Zara knew she couldn't hide the truth anymore. She placed the papers on the table in front of Ifeoma and looked her straight in the eyes. "I know what you did," Zara said firmly. "I have the proof. I know about the lies, the crimes, and what you did to my mother." Ifeoma looked shocked at first, but quickly tried to hide it. "What are you talking about, Zara?" she said, her voice cold. "You're just making up things to cause trouble. None of this is true." But Zara wasn't backing down. She placed the letters, photographs, and documents on the table one by one, each piece showing the truth of Ifeoma's betrayal and crimes. "You can't lie anymore, Ifeoma," Zara said. "I've seen everything. You killed my mother for money and power. You manipulated everyone, and you've been controlling my father and this family for years." Ifeoma's face turned pale, and her hands shook, but she still tried to deny everything. "You're wrong, Zara. This is all lies. You don't understand." But Zara was determined. With each piece of evidence Zara showed, Ifeoma started to break down. Finally, in a moment of desperation, Ifeoma cracked. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Yes, I did it. I betrayed your mother. I did everything to get your father's wealth, but it was not just me. Your father knew everything. He knew about all of it, and he allowed it to happen." Zara froze in shock. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What? My father knew?" she whispered, her heart sinking. Ifeoma nodded, tears streaming down her face, though there was no real remorse in her eyes. "Yes, he knew everything, and he didn't care. He was too weak to stop me." The room fell silent as Zara tried to process the painful truth. The man she had loved and trusted, her father, had known all along and let it happen. The realization was crushing, but Zara was no longer the scared girl she once was. She had finally uncovered the full truth, and now she had to face the consequences of it all. After everything was revealed, Zara felt a heavy weight lift off her shoulders. She had uncovered the truth about Ifeoma's betrayal and her father's weakness. But now, she knew she had to make a difficult choice. Zara couldn't stay in the house with Ifeoma's lies and manipulation any longer. She couldn't live in a place filled with so much pain and betrayal. So, with a brave heart, she decided to leave. Zara packed her things, determined to start a new life on her own. She was no longer the frightened girl who lived in fear of Ifeoma. Zara had learned that she was stronger than she thought. She was ready to take control of her own future. She vowed to live her life on her own terms, not controlled by anyone's lies or secrets. She would honor her mother's memory by working hard to rebuild her family's legacy, free from the darkness that had once surrounded them. As Zara walked away from the house that had once been her home, she felt a sense of peace. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready for it. She knew that the truth had set her free. Zara was no longer looking back at her past, but was focused on the future. She was stronger, wiser, and determined to find the peace and redemption she had been searching for. The story ends with Zara walking toward a new chapter in her life, ready to build a future filled with honesty, love, and success, far from the shadows of her past.